Hey guys, welcome back to Telltale. I'm Emily,
I'm Greg.
and today we are going to be discussing another Little Dick, a Philip K. Dick story. We're back at him. This one
Yes.
is called Project Earth.
And this is number 32 in my Philip K. Dick list. And it's a novelette, a little longer than a short story. It was published in December of 1953 in Imagination magazine. And that's the magazine I was telling you about was published by Greenleaf Classics before
Uh,
they became a porn publisher.
Woo! The oldest profession.
Yeah. But first, they started publishing science fiction because in the early 50s, everybody had a science fiction magazine.
Yep.
Um, so it was published in Imagination December 1953, and I read it in We Can Remember It For You wholesale.
And I read it in a PDF of Imagination from 1953 in the December edition,
Yes.
which has some really cool art in it.
You liked it? I didn't care for it.
It's all right. I
Okay.
mean, I didn't think it was terrible, but
No.
what do I know?
Well, I mean, different tastes for different people. It just didn't do
Yeah.
anything for me.
It felt very comic book, and I'm very that is kind of comfortable for me. So
Okay.
I liked those illustrations. They were fun.
I don't. I don't like a lot of the illustrations today look like comic book or anime style, and
Hmm.
all I see is bad drawing.
Ah, gotcha. Understandable.
I see people who don't know how to draw hands, don't know how to draw mouths,
Hmm.
don't get proportions right, that
Yeah.
haven't taken life drawing,
Hmm.
and they're just, you know, cutting corners.
Yeah. And I mean back then too, that's you kind of have to do that, one, because cost of printing, and two, they're trying to fit things in amidst margins, and they only have a certain amount of space they have to work with, and like cover pages, and probably having to work on it yesterday.
Yeah,
It's like, we gotta get this out tomorrow. It's like, oh
yeah,
shit.
yeah. But then you take a look at
Mhm.
anything Virgil Finlay did,
Yeah,
and it's like that guy did it on the same deadlines
yeah.
and his work is just mind blowing.
Well, you can only hire who applied.
True, true.
Unless you're making personal requests, and even then, who
Mhm.
knows? But yeah, so ready for a synopsis?
Sure, go
All
for it.
right. So these children are very curious about the man upstairs. The man
Mr.
upstairs,
Billings.
yes, Mr. Billings, he sits at his typewriter all day and writes up stuff. And one day, while they're peering through the cracks in the bathroom ceiling, they read that the report he's working on is called Project Earth. And so one of the boys decides he's just gonna go up there and walk in the guy's little study area apartment thing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just gonna go up there and walk in there and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So he does. The door is unlocked. He goes in there. He's probably like, what, 8? Young kid.
Probably.
Yeah. Starts snooping around, and he finds the report, Project Earth, and it's just a list of facts about every country and every state and everything, all kinds of different stuff. So he's like, that's weird. And so he goes out on the porch because they all notice that Mr. Billings he brings in dirt from the yard outside. So they're
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out what that's about. He's trying to figure out what that's about. And on the porch, there's a little, like, garden-esque looking thing, and when he looks inside of it, he sees there's tiny little 2-inch people
Mm-hmm.
living in this little, garden
And they're
thing.
alive.
And they're alive. And they're like building little houses and huts out of grass and things.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mr. Billing walks in, and the boy's like kind of freaked out that he gets caught, but Mr. Billings doesn't seem at all bothered that there's a curious child in his space.
Yeah.
He seems very subdued about it. And so he just starts telling the kid that, yeah, they're Project C for planet Earth. And so the kid starts asking questions, and you find out there was a Project A that had wings,
Mm-hmm.
and they flew off. And then there was a Project B, and the little boy's like, "What happened to Project B?" He's like, "You guys are Project B. Well, the population right now is Project B. We're trying to get something more obedient. Y'all just start revolting and becoming far too fiercely independent."
Yeah.
So the little boy, of course, in his mind, runs home, grabs a cigar box, runs back to Mr. Billings' apartment, and when Mr. Billing is working on his report, he just walks in and takes the little people
Mm-hmm.
and brings them home and treats them like pets.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he gets away with it because Mr. Billing never asked his name or anything like that. Um, and was far too trusting with this child. So he's showing him off to his friends and getting one of his little lady pals to make tiny clothes for him and stuff and teaching them to explore things and all kinds of things. And then one day Mr. Billings comes and finds him playing marbles with his friends and says, I'll play marbles to get them back
Hmm.
because I need them. They're mine. This I have a report I've got to file back to my superiors and I need those little people back. And so he plays them. The little boy loses, brings back all the little people to Mr. Billings, and Mr. Billings takes them back to his thing. Spoiler alert! In the process of the little boy bringing that back to Mr. Billings, the little people figured out a revolt strategy and escape.
Hmm.
And the end of it is Mr. Billings just being like, just like the rest of them, they become too fiercely independent and they rebel. And
Yeah.
they've wandered off into the world now
Hmm.
to become whatever they are.
But they only became independent because of exposure to
Yeah.
Project B.
Yes.
And that's where Project B went wrong, is
Yes.
exposure to Project A.
Yes. Where everybody started interacting with each other and the other one taught the rest independence.
Hmm. And in case you haven't figured it out yet, Project A is the angels that fell.
Yes.
Project B is us, and
Prospect
Project
C is
C
probably
is
little fairy
after
folk.
Armageddon.
Yeah. The little fairy folk.
Yeah. But I mean, there's a lot of Christian religion,
Mm-hmm.
religious idea,
Yes.
mythology, you could say,
Yeah.
brought into the story and science fictionalized,
Yes. I did
which I
notice
thought
that.
was cool. And
I instantly was like, oh, angels.
Mhm,
Yep, with the wings when he
mhm,
mentions they had wings.
mhm.
We remove the wings next.
Yeah.
That was funny. But yeah, so that's the story. And it's kind of fun.
Hmm.
I kind of like this one. I don't think it's the best Philip K. Dick that I've read, though.
No, but it's important because it's one of his early stories where he's playing with this idea of us um, being messed with by beings
Hmm.
outside of us, that there are
A very man against outside forces situation.
outside forces that are influencing our lives. I mean,
Hmm.
it's kind of minor here, and it's a retelling of Christian theology
Yeah,
basically, but that idea
that
will
Billings is
become
God.
central
Hmm.
to many of his later works.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of interesting to see it here in
Hmm.
such a basic, simple form.
Yeah. I did love that idea of Mr. Billings as God,
Yeah.
basically. Like he knows everything about Earth. He's filing the
Well,
reports.
but is he God or not? Because he has superiors.
He's God of our Earth. He's the
Yeah.
one who
But
who
he's
came
not
up with it.
ultimately at the top.
Yes. But still, especially for like the childlike mind, he basically is. Like
Hmm.
he's the closest thing to God that any human would
Well,
probably come
yeah,
up
he
with.
created human beings. So.
Yeah, he made them. And it brings up that, what was it, Kierkegaard? If God wasn't good, would you still owe him? Like, would you feel a sense of dedication to God, even if he wasn't good or bad, or if he was just like us? That's what I kept thinking of. I'm like, I mean,
Hmm.
this guy's neither good nor bad. He's just a guy.
Hmm.
So I just
And
thought that
he's
was
not
really
the one
interesting.
that screws up. It's
No.
other people fiddling with his experiments that
Yes.
screw it up for him.
Yes. It is. It is the
He has to start all over.
yeah, the hypothesis was corrupted, contaminated, so to speak. But I kind of
And he
liked it.
doesn't get angry about it. He just
Yeah.
takes it and
He's like,
goes,
well,
"Oh well,
it
start
happened
over."
again. Yeah, it happened again. He just seemed very, very like subdued about his lot in life.
Hmm.
To just file reports about this earth as life goes on.
Hmm.
Very content at it. But yeah, I thought it was a cute story. But yeah, it
Yeah.
wasn't my favorite of the Philip K. Dicks that we've read.
No.
So I wouldn't call it a top tale, but it was enjoyable. It's kind of a cozy science fiction.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just you can kind of take it at face value. You learn everything you need to know. Everything's handed to you. Everything turns out okay.
Hmm.
Like nothing huge or very big happens.
Hmm.
Other than the marble. The marble's exploding
Yeah.
because Mr. Billings seems to have all the control over that.
Hmm.
And the kid trying to teach him how to play marbles was hilarious too. I liked that a lot. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real simple, fun story.
Yeah.
I felt like I flew through it too. It doesn't feel as long
Yeah.
as it is.
It didn't feel like a novelette.
Very fast paced.
Hmm.
So it was well done. And it's a great one you could hand off to a kid too.
Yeah.
This very family friendly story
Yeah.
for Philip K. Dick. So yeah,
So I agree. Good
recommended.
story, recommended. Not one of the greatest ever.
Yeah. Which is interesting because we haven't had a ton of Philip K. Dicks that we didn't just absolutely love or love quite a bit.
Right. Well, but everybody's got to have their day off, where
Mm-hmm.
they just they do a story, but it's not their best.
Yeah. We're just gonna phone it in a little bit. But it
Mm-hmm.
was still enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I really don't have much else to say about this one.
No, neither
I
do
just
I.
like this childlike wonder of all the characters involved.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah,
Mr.
that was a
Billings,
good
who's
decision.
the scientist, is very childlike wonder about what he's experiencing and what he's trying to file reports on, his observations and stuff, which I appreciated a lot.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it would have been a very different story if you would have had, like, say, a police officer
Mm-hmm.
going into his apartment investigating
Yes.
some kind of complaint and coming across all
Mm-hmm.
this
To have
and
this
the
all be very
ramifications of that.
non-threatening.
Instead he has this little kid that makes a story. It
Yes.
wouldn't have it couldn't have been the same story if with an adult
Mm-hmm.
instead of the little kid.
Yeah. Because the kid has no sense of consequence or responsibilities. Like, I'm just gonna take these guys.
Well, and he has no judgment of what
Yeah.
the guy's doing either.
He just thinks the little people are cool.
Yeah.
He's like, whatever, you do you, man, but I want these. These are
Hmm.
mine.
Hmm.
Finders keepers.
Hmm.
Which I think was very funny.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, have you read Project Earth? Leave your comments in the comment section for everybody to enjoy. Um, Not much you can spoil that we haven't already.
Yes,
So
it's an older work, but it's a
just dig
goodie.
in and say what you have to say about it. And otherwise, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We got a lot more Philip K. Dick to cover.
We're trudging
We,
through it.
we're still only in 1953, only like a year and what, 4 or 5 months since we
Yeah.
started writing.
Yes. Oh, that guy was a machine. I say
Yes.
trudging, but it has been an enjoyable trudge.
Mhm.
So. But yeah. Well, thank you guys for joining us again. We will see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.